Hello fellow adventurers and welcome back to another Diablo Immortal video, and happy Brumaltine as well. It's nice to see Westmarch covered in snow, getting us ready for that festive period. So in this video I wanted to share my Necromancer Challenge Rift build that I use for getting through Challenge Rifts 370 and 371 whilst being way below CR, nearly 1,000 points below CR. I just wanted to share what works for me and if it helps anyone else out. So I've already done 370 and 371 in another video. I just wanted to show a run of 371 again using the build that I've got at the moment, tweaked very slightly, and then I'll show my build afterwards and hopefully it can be used for anyone else to take a look and share. So if I have a look at the combat rating which I've got at the moment, it's 43,926, okay, 43926. And if we have a look at 371, it's 44,855. So I'm way below that. 370 is 44,765. And I am able to do 371. I'm currently in 11th place. I was in the 9th place. But I think a few people just managed to get a quicker time, which bumped me back from 9th to 11th. But it does show that I can get into the top 10 with this build whilst being well below CR. And the time I got last time was 8 minutes 11. That was my previous time. And before that I had a time of 9 minutes 50 something seconds. So let's jump into 371 and I'll show you what it looks like with this build being below CR and that it's doable. Okay, so this is Challenge Rift level 371. And we get a good idea of how this build performs, what it's like. Even though I'm well below CR, these enemies are going to hit really hard. I may even get one shot, but you can see how much damage that I actually deal to the enemies. Don't be afraid to try a Challenge Rift level even if you're well below CR, because you might be surprised. With the right build you'll be able to do quite a few of them before you get really stuck. Obviously it depends on how many elites you get as well. So let's push forward a little bit once I get out of this area and see if we can find some elites to get the timer up a little bit more. We need at least 2-3 groups of elites to have enough time for the boss.
Give it more time.
Okay, so up ahead we have a yellow enemy and we have a group of elites as well. Oh, I don't know what hit me there. It felt like, okay, I think it was this sand scorpion from behind me that I kind of snuck past. He caught back up with me and decided to one-shot me. So you can see I get one shot, so it is very difficult, and that's another reason why I didn't decide to go in with Parting Gift, the bone armor essence that I've always been using really, that used to deal 5 chances of damage immunity, and that was really helpful. They kind of changed it now to give a damage absorption. You get like a shield, like 58,000 or something it absorbs. So not like a complete immunity, you just get like an absorption. Now these enemies hit so hard that it kind of just goes through that absorption. And I had Parting Gift equipped before and I was just still getting one shot on the boss and other enemies, normal enemies like this. So I decided instead of Parting Gift, let's just try another bone armor essence. So I've gone with one which increases the damage I deal using the corpses that are on the floor, or you could use one that does like the spikes and the whirling orbs around you. That's another one that you could use as well, but I'll be going through my build after this.
Death is patient.
So let's take down this group of elites over here and then see if we get lucky with a few more elites further up. So like I said, we do need a few more elites just to get that timer up a lot more. See, this isn't enough still, we need a lot more.
I must wait, it seems.
Hopefully that's not a dead end. No. Unfortunately the corridor is like really tight here, so I can't run up ahead and scout the area just to see if there are more elites there.
Still recharging.
Gotten a bit too close there.
I must
switch back onto the damage. Build for the summons.
Better.
I'll go back to speed stance when I need to run away from something. Let's have a quick peek.
That ability
Okay,
must
no
recharge.
elites yet, but we'll keep going. You never know in challenge dungeons. You do get
Still
surprised.
recharging.
You get further on and you find that you've got a whole bunch of elites waiting for you right towards the end. I'm gonna go up the stairs actually. Oh no, wait. Let me just go around here because I killed these
Is
enemies.
patient.
Got a bit more room now. I've got my ultimate up, but I was going to save it for the next bunch of enemies. That big guy's taking a while to defeat. That'll do. Okay, oh yeah, we've got a nice bunch of elites here. Hope there's no one behind me.
Give it more time.
No, the endless abyss!
My health is restored. That ability must recharge.
Get my mages back up again. So you can see I'm using the new mages, which are untargetable. And that means I don't have to worry about them getting one shot.
I must wait.
They'll be around for as long as their timer is there. Which is really, really handy.
Death is patient. I am renewed.
Oh, I've got a wall spawned at the worst place here. There we
I
go.
must wait,
Got around it.
it seems.
Oh, I nearly got stuck there.
Death is patient.
So it's nice that we've got another group of elites. We really did need that. And I've got enough room to
not
maneuver
yet.
in this area. And with this build, you really just need to stay back. Keep your distance. Let your mages do a lot of work. And then use my primary attack. And I've got Grim Scythe as well, which I'll go over. Those essences. And I'll go over some alternatives that you could use instead as suggestions.
No,
Okay,
not
so
yet.
now we don't really need a pack of elites. It would be nice, but
My wounds mend.
we'll just take out some of these normal enemies. If we get enough of them and kill them fast enough, should be able to spawn the boss. And then we just have to try get lucky with the boss we get. I just don't want Sand Shaper because Sand Shaper just stresses me out. You just die far too quickly. I'd rather have the Queen. She's not too bad.
I must wait, it seems.
Oh,
My health is restored.
got
That
hit really
ability
hard there.
must recharge.
Hopefully my Phoenix Ashes cooldown has renewed so I can trigger that again. I might keep that
No,
Frenzy
not yet.
globe for the boss. Might sneak past that and come back to it. There we go. So it's... Oh, I got hit very, very hard there. So I'm going to use a charged orb.
Still recharging.
I've not had this boss in a very long time, actually. The only thing you need to worry about with this boss is when it rains down fire,
Death is patient.
you need to get well out the way. I was quite lucky to have my ultimate
Give it
spawn.
more time.
I'm in a really awkward position for this boss. Let me go into this open area.
Still recharging.
He had his back turned. Oh, got a bit too close there.
I must
He had his
wait.
back turned to me. Okay, he's going to charge. Oh, no, he's not going to charge. He's going to do the flame.
My life.
Oh, I've got hit. So I'm going to
No,
go
not yet.
behind him. Okay, that,
Recharging.
actually, I don't like this area. That's probably better where I was. Let him rush forward.
That ability must recharge. I need aid.
Got
I
a
must
bit too
wait.
overconfident there. I wasn't moving. It's okay. I'm just trying to take the last remaining bit of health down as quick as I can.
Not yet.
Unfortunately, I don't think the command golem is around. He would have taken some aggro.
That ability
There we
must
go.
recharge.
So that's 371. Obviously some unnecessary deaths at the end. And you can see it wasn't the most optimal run. I didn't restart this too many times to make sure I get elites right at the start. It was a fairly realistic run, you know, making a few mistakes here and there, being a bit overconfident at times, getting too close, but still being able to complete it within a decent time. Just have to make sure you keep your distance a bit, getting lucky with the elites. And now I'll show the build and hopefully it helps if you want to use it yourself. Okay, so we're back out, and yeah, it wasn't a awful score. It was okay. I mean, I'm back from 9th to 11th with 8 minutes and 6. The one below is 7 minutes 24. So if I did get an additional pack of elites towards the start, for example, I would have easily got in within 8 minutes and within sort of 7:30, or just under that. That would have been doable. So pretty decent score there. And just to show that you can get into the top 10 with a build like this being well under CR. And that opens up to the next level, which is 372, which is 44945. I won't be trying that just yet. So let me show the build that I used and see if it's helpful for anyone else who wants to try it out. Okay, so we're at the training ground. I can show the build here. So let's start off with the skills, which are Soulfire, Grim Scythe, Bone Armor, Command Golem, and Command Skeletons. And now let's start with the set items. That's quite an easy one to go through. So for the set items, I've gone with 4 pieces of the Vitu's Urges set. Now this increases the duration of all beneficial effects on you or your party members by 30% and increases the target's attack speed by 30% for 3 seconds. Each time you use a skill to grant a beneficial effect to yourself or a party member. So this works nicely with any buffs you have or bone armor. And I've got 4 of those equipped to get the 2 set properties. And for the other 4, I've got 4 pieces of Shepherds because I'm using my mages and the golem. The summons will deal additional 15% more damage and their critical hit chance will increase by 3% for each of my summons up to a maximum of 18%. So that's my set items. For the secondary gems, now try and go with as much armor penetration, armor damage, potency as you can. You want to just do as much damage as you can basically. So you want some higher ranked, especially armor penetration, and you want to try get 3 socket gear as much as you can. Now I'm still looking for 3 sockets for this one here. I haven't been able to get that. I'm still looking for 3 sockets for the arms so I can have 3 potencies equipped. I'm still looking for 3 sets for the legs so I can have an additional aquamarine or sapphire equipped here. For your rings, make sure you find blue socketed rings so you can equip an aquamarine or a sapphire. And make sure you find 3 socketed bracelets so you can have 3 secondary gems equipped there. So it's this one here which I'm kind of lacking the 3rd slot, and I only have a rank 6 in one of these slots as well, so definitely room for improvement there. My pet's not very good, so no point talking about that. Let's look at legendary gems. I'm going in with Roiling Consequence, Blood-Soaked Jade, Echoing Shade. Now I know a lot of people don't like Echoing Shade, but I just like having those clones dealing some additional primary attack damage. The new Morn Skull legendary gem, a fairly cheap one to upgrade. I've got that on to deal more additional offensive damage. Now I've got a lot of primary attack damage and attack speed going up, so Gloom Cask works nicely with that. Starfire Shard, quite good for PvE, but also decent with PvE as well for that fire, rain, the meteors that fire down on enemies, a group of enemies, and dealing burn. Mother's Lament to increase my critical hit chance and also give bleed damage as well to the enemies for continual damage. And this one, Phoenix Ashes, a survivability gem. As you saw, I think I only saw it kick in maybe once. It probably kicked in another time, but I didn't notice it. This would best be swapped with an offensive gem. It's only because I've got it 5 out of 5 and rank 7, I get the additional 169 combat rating and I've got the 790 reso, so it does give me that extra CR bump by having this, and that damage immunity that one time, maybe it does save my life and in a critical situation or something like that. So this is probably one that can be swapped out, but obviously just go in with whatever are the best offensive gems that you have for this. As for runes, I still haven't had an orange legendary rune drop yet after playing all this time, and since the runes have come out I've only got yellow and blue runes. I've not even had one orange rune drop, so even if I had the critical chance one, that would have helped a lot. And that's another thing, for your legendary gear, try to find items that increase your critical hit chance and critical hit damage, because they will help you a lot. Try and get your critical hit chance as high as you can to deal as much damage on the enemy. So that's my set items, the secondary gems, the legendary gems that I've gone through. As per Paragon, I have gone in with Slinger, and it's nothing too special here. I've just clicked everything at the top here. So I've gone with Unsigned Dynamism, Gifted to increase the stacks, Uncanny to increase that critical hit chance, Impulsive just to improve the stacks as well, and then Spell Surge just to give that lightning change across multiple enemies. For my legendary skill, I've gone in with Lightning Rod again just to deal lightning damage across many enemies that I've got grouped together. So that's the Paragon, and make sure you do spend all your Paragon points as well to grab all of the grids, just so you get the bonuses at the bottom of this section, the bonus attributes. Just make sure you get all of those bonus attributes as well. In terms of the Warband buff, I have gone in with Protector, so I do get an increased 5% block chance. So Protector's a nice one. It works nicely with Brawler as well, so if you want to do Brawler to increase your size as well. But yeah, so Protector is what I am currently using here. I get some reduced damage taken, increased block chance, increases my life by 6.5% and my size as well. So that's what I've gone in for my Warband buff. And now going into essences, obviously the most important one, the essences. Before I go to essences, actually, let me just show you the stats that I have. So these are my damage, life, combat rating, strength, intelligence, fortitude, vitality, and willpower. And the secondary attributes, you can see it's nothing too amazing, you know, not in the 4.5 to 5k range. This is fairly achievable for a lot of players. So that's basically what I have. Critical hit chance starts at 10%, but I'll show you later on how I increase that critical hit chance to within the 30s. Okay, so the essences. So for the helm, I've gone with Gatefisk Helm. This is where Grimscythe now slices through enemies' armor, increases their damage taken by 11.4% for 6 seconds, up to a maximum of 34.2%. Grimscythe damage increased by 10%. So this is great, you know, you get that enemy armor down and increase that damage that you deal for Grimscythe. This is a really nice one that works along with it. If you did want to swap this out for anything else, I would suggest maybe Mortuary Horns, which is one down here. Command Golem's Presence bolsters the power of your nearby summons, increasing the damage they deal by 19% as long as they remain near the Golem, and you get an increased damage by the Golem as well. So this is a really good one, so your mages will now deal additional damage if they're around the Golem. Now, the only downside here is sometimes the mages stay a little bit back and the Golem's further forward, and you might notice maybe only 2 or 3 of your summons, or maybe 1 or 2 of your summons are actually bolstered. The way to notice that is, if you have a look at your summons, you'll see them glow like a red aura, and that will let you know that they're dealing the increased damage and they're within range. So this is kind of hit and miss because of the positioning of the summons. That's the only reason I've stuck with Gatefisk Helm, but have a play around depending on which one you prefer to go in with. But you've got an option here. For the chest piece, I've gone in with Armor of the Damned instead of Parting Gift, which I used to use before. So this is Unfilled Grave. Bone armor now consumes nearby corpses, increasing the damage you deal and reducing the damage you take for each corpse consumed. You get an additional cooldown for 17.2%. So this is great because you're going to get loads of corpses on the ground as you keep moving forward in Challenge Rift, and that's going to increase the damage you take. I mean, you want to try and deal as much damage as you can in Challenge Rifts, and this seems like a nice one to have, or you can have one of the spikes, but I think I prefer this one over having the spikes around you and your summons, or the orb that spins around that deals damage. Parting Gift doesn't really help that much because on the higher levels you're going to get one shot anyway, so the shield absorption isn't going to make much sense. It's just going to hurt too badly, so it's better to go for something which is going to increase your attack. So I wouldn't really recommend swapping this out with anything else. For the shoulders, I've gone with Depletion and Renewal. Skeleton Mage grows in size and strength the longer it's active, increasing its damage by 45% after 5 seconds, and you get a decreased cooldown as well. So this is great because I'm going to show you a bit later on that I'm using Spectral Mage. That means my mages are untargetable, they won't die straight away, and they'll be around for the full amount of time. So as they're around, they're going to grow in size and strength and keep dealing more damage as they are hanging around. And it's a really nice essence to combine with your mages and the Scattered Light Spectral Mage essence I'll show a bit later. So the other thing is, if you wanted to swap this out, you could go with Incision Cusp, which is one down here, and that would be worth trying, which is while Bone Armor is active, it also increases your critical hit damage by 30.4%, and you get an increased cooldown by 10% off your Bone Armor. So you can not only click on bone armor sooner, you also get a massive 30.4% critical hit damage increase. So this pairs nicely. If you've got a nice critical hit chance, when that triggers, that critical hit damage is going to be greater and you're going to deal a nice burst of damage. And same again, when you're trying to reforge and enchant your legendary gear, try and find as much critical hit chance and sort of critical hit damage as you can, and that's going to help you a lot overall. So that's the option for the shoulders. For the legs, I'm going in with Undying Malice, where bone armor also increases critical hit chance by 14%, and I get reduced cooldown. So the cooldown is nice, but also I have an increased chance of dealing, you know, that critical hit chance, so I'm going to have more damage on the enemies to get that burst damage. If you did not want that 14% critical hit chance and wanted something else, I would suggest Ravening Silence is one that I've used before. That's one over here. So Grim Scythe now triggers all continual damage on the target it hits, causing them to instantly take the remaining damage, and you get a cooldown reduction of Grim Scythe, and you get a 10% increased damage as well. So this is a nice one because obviously your Grim Scythe damage is going to increase, and if you've got any continual damage like poison or burn, you're going to get like a burst of the remaining amount hit on the boss or any other target. So this is a nice as an alternative option, but I've gone in with Undying Malice. For the primary weapon, I wouldn't suggest swapping this out. This works really well for me. It's the Craving Bay Essence, Grim Calling. Grim Scythe now empowers you with Grim Calling, causing your primary attacks to unleash slashing scythes when they hit enemies. You get an increased 18% damage and then another 10% increased damage as well. This just means I don't have to get stuck in close with any of the Grim Scythe attacks. It's one that I can stand back and use my primary attacks, and then you'll notice some slashing scythes on the enemies dealing damage whilst you're standing back. So it's just additional damage that you can deal, and I find it really helps, and you increase your damage overall as well. For the secondary weapon, another one which I wouldn't suggest swapping out, works well for me, Rotted Harvest. So you get your Devouring Golem. The command Golem now summons a Devouring Golem with unlimited duration that consumes nearby corpses to increase its size, maximum life, damage and attack range, while dealing damage and slowing nearby enemies. You get an increased 18% damage, and the life increases as well. So you can see the Golem is pretty much a tank with this essence, and it just works nicely with the mages as well. You know, just having those summons around helping you out. The Golem will stun enemies, and it's just a really nice Golem essence that they've introduced in the game, so definitely keep that one. The other one is Scattered Light. This is the primary shield essence. This is a new essence that's been introduced in the latest update in Diablo Immortal, and it's called Spectral Mage. So Skeletal Mage now summons untargetable spectral mages that cast Hungering Soulfire enemies after being struck by a total loss of control effect. A Spectral Mage can sacrifice itself to remove the effect. Additionally, Spectral Mages will be summoned passively while you're in combat. Now, the loss of control effect is very sort of PvP heavy, so we're not really bothering about that here. What we're interested in is the untargetable feature for these mages. So when I do bring them up, they're not just going to be one shot straight away like command skeletons would be. And that's why I haven't gone in with command skeletons. I've gone with the mages just because they're untargetable and they'll hang around for longer, dealing damage from behind. And this pretty decent because the cooldown isn't too bad, so once they go down they just bring them back up again. If you don't bring them back up again, you'll get one mage passively being spawned all the time. So fantastic essence. I'm going to be using this throughout most PvE content, and I'm happy they introduced this in. I wouldn't recommend swapping that one out. For the secondary shield, I have gone with Corrosive Slab. So this is where the command Golem also makes nearby enemies vulnerable, causing them to take an additional 15.2 damage, and you get a cooldown reduced by 10%. Obviously the command Golem cooldown is quite high, so it is good to have a bit of cooldown for the command Golem, and this works nicely with Rotted Harvest, of course. This is great, so when you do want to fire your Golem into a bunch of enemies, they'll be vulnerable, just dealing more damage overall, which is the key in challenge rifts. If you did want to swap this out, because I'm using Soulfire, Spite Fetor would be one to use here, which is this one here. The Soulfire now has a 25% chance to explode on hit, dealing damage to all nearby enemies and causing them to burn, and then you get an additional 19% increased damage as well. Because I'm using Soulfire, this would work quite nicely. If you're using Bone Spear, then maybe obviously you want to stick to Corrosive Slab. The other reason I'm using Soulfire is because the ultimate is better. It's one that I can stand back and cast. I don't have to get too close and get killed straight away as soon as I cast my ultimate, although that does happen sometimes. This Spite Fettle is quite nice for the burn, for continuous damage, and the explosion is to nearby enemies as well, so when you've grouped up your enemies. So it's a nice alternative. Decide which one you want, but I really prefer Corrosive Slab because I have more control over where I want to throw that golem and deal some increased damage to after making them vulnerable. And there, my essences. This works for me. It's something that I've just played around with, and you know, I've been swapping things out here and there until I find a setup that just works, and I found I'm quite comfortable with this build, and it's really fun to use as well. You can use this in raids, Hellslayer bounties, and as you can see, using this in challenge rifts when you're, you know, nearly under 1,000 points below CR requirement, you can still do them quite easily. So as a summary, Gate Fisk Helm, Unfilled Grave, Depletion and Renewal, Undying Malice, Craving Bay, Scattered Light, Rotted Harvest, and Corrosive Slab. Now, just to show you, when I haven't got anything summoned or any skills equipped, my critical hit chance is 10%. Once I use everything, my critical hit chance will go up to 86.2% here, so that's a massive boost. I think it's because I hit an enemy and I must have got a massive boost. Usually it's up to about 30 or 50, so that was quite impressive to see it go up to 80%. It's gone back down to 21.5% now because I've got the one major round. If I have a look again, it should be, there you go, 79.4 critical hit chance. So that's a massive critical hit boost that you get with this setup. And for example, if I move away from here and if I try with just the mages and the golem, so 21.5% with the one mage and one golem. If I use my bone armor and the mage, if I have a look again, you get 30%. So usually you'd get 30% if you just use bone armor, and if you have your mages up and your golem, you'd go from the 10 to 30%. And then when you're fighting, as you saw, you can see it jump to like 79, 80%, which is massive. So that's how I play around with the critical hit chance with this build to deal as much damage as I can. And as you can see, when I do cast the mages, you can see them growing in size and strength. The longer they're active, you can see them getting really tall now. So I'll basically be firing the mages, keeping bone armor up, and using my primary attacks, keeping Grimsith up, and that's basically it. That's the build. It works really nice for me. I enjoy using this build, and hopefully it's something which you can use as well, and if it's handy, let me know. And that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to go through for this video. This build is something that I'll be sticking to using for Challenge Rift, so I'm going to be posting this video as my updated Necromancer Challenge Rift build. Hopefully it was helpful. Hope you enjoyed watching that video. Let me know in the comments section if you did like it, if it works for you, or if there's anything you spotted that I could tweak, if there's anything which you saw that I could improve on. If you have any questions, I'll try to get back to you, but just post them in the comment section. I'll keep an eye. Thanks a lot for watching this. Enjoy the snow in Westmarch and attempting to kill Diablo. Have fun. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.